Welcome to another episode of Imperial Diecast. Today I've got something for fans of Lamborghini. An unusual Lambo. But I'm sure you've heard about this at least a while ago, and then it sort of went under the radar. It's the Asterion. Quite rare, especially in the world of diecast. Only two manufacturers had previously made this car, both resin manufacturers. MR in 118 for 370 euros, and Look Smart in 143 for 130 euros. So in both cases, high-end limited collector's editions that sold out quickly despite the high price. Thankfully, the Asterion is finally available again as part of the 143 Altaya Lamborghini collection, and for a great price. I paid less than 13 euros for this on carmodel.com. They had a 10% off special day, so it was more like $11.65. They sold out, but this Asterion is still available on eBay for 15 euros. Now, if you're a Lamborghini fan, this is a car that you should definitely add to your collection. And I first came across this car when I was playing a mobile game called Real Racing 3 back in late 2015. Now, here's something really interesting. You know Lamborghini is famous for naming their cars after fighting bulls, right? Well, this time they didn't name it after a bull, but something very similar to it. You see, this car was Lamborghini's first hybrid. And hybrid means half gasoline, half electric. So they decided to look at Greek mythology and picked the name Asterion, which was the name of a minotaur, half man, half bull. In fact, in Greek mythology, the minotaurs aren't a species, but there is only this one minotaur of Crete, which was locked up in a labyrinth to be kept away from human civilization for being a hybrid, and its name was Asterion, named after its grandfather Asterius, whose adopted son Minos later became the king of Crete, and whose wife Pasiphae had given birth to the Minotaur, and who had then banished the Minotaur into the labyrinth. And in a way, that is exactly what the Lamborghini Asterion is. A one-off concept that was shown at the Paris Motor Show in 2014 and has been locked away ever since. Because it never entered into production and had to make way for Lambo's SUV, the Urus. And it wasn't until several years later that Lamborghini did make a production hybrid, namely the Sian, which, strangely enough, has less horsepower in total than the Asterion. Now, this car was released during a time when hybrid supercars were in vogue. I mean, this was the year when the holy trinity of hybrids in the form of the Porsche 918, The McLaren P1 and the LaFerrari were the flagship hypercars of each of those three companies. So Lamborghini wanted a hybrid of their own, with a similar amount of horsepower, and considering all three of them had around 900 horsepower each, that's exactly what they aimed for, and they actually delivered. I mean, this is known as the LP910-4, with the 4 standing for all-wheel drive. So taking a look at the front of the 143 scale Altaya Lamborghini Asterion, I suppose the front is done in a decent way for this budget 143 scale model. If you look at the headlights, you can definitely see that these are the weak points of this model because they really did not do a good job on creating the DRLs and making them look realistic. I think LookSmart has done a much better job here. You can see that there's like a peg in the middle, although the rest of the headlight is just as black as the peg itself, so you can't really see the circular peg. You can see a little bit of silver for the bulbs, but I mean, they could have done this a lot better. At least in the middle, we do get the Lamborghini logo, and this is of course a printed badge, and it looks decent enough. What I like about the hood is that they've replicated these crease lines that are symmetric and also have these vents embedded into the hood, so that definitely looks nice. And of course, underneath you have the Aventador style air intakes. And now taking a look at the side of the Lamborghini Asterion, the side is of course another view of the car where it's quite unique looking compared to other Lamborghinis. I mean, you can see that the back is a lot higher than the front, and it's sort of like a mix between a Huracan and an Aventador. The wheels are done pretty nicely on this model. You can see that we have really interesting looking rims, and in the center we have the Lamborghini center locks with the logos on them. However, there are no brake discs or calipers behind the wheels, so that's kind of disappointing. Next to the wheel, we have a little strip here, which has the tricolore of the Italian flag. And then, of course, we have the air vents here, although they lack the meshes, which the LookSmart version has. Above the side air intake, we have the gas cap, and then we have a little Lamborghini logo here as well. Very unusual for Lamborghini to put a logo up here at the C-pillar. The roof has an interesting roof scoop, which almost looks like an air intake, and it might actually be one for the engine back here. Taking a look at the back of the Lamborghini Asterion, I think the back looks really cool on this 143 scale model. You can see that Altaya added quite a bit of detail here. We have the Lamborghini logo in the middle, and of course it's flanked by the red tail lights. Now, these look quite similar to that of the Centenario. So again, you can see some design cues that were incorporated into later models that Lamborghini made. The LookSmart version's taillights are shiny. Here they are matte red. So that's one small downside of this. Underneath we can see the Asterion license plate, and then we have the quad exhausts at the bottom. The exhausts are supposed to be hexagons, and Altaya had a bit of trouble getting the edges to look edgy. I mean, it still looks pretty round, but you can see that they tried to incorporate that detail. Now, the black frame of the engine bay cover is supposed to be made of a special material called forged composite, the same material that the spoiler of the Huracan Performante was made of. So, instead of having the typical carbon fiber weave, it has a grayish-white flaking, and LookSmart added that detail on their 143 just like the real grille mesh on the side intakes, and the better-looking headlights, and the leather base and everything. You don't get that kind of detail here, but for the price, this is a model that fits great with other budget 143s and still has that air of uniqueness to it. Through the glass, you can see the engine. The engine is pretty much the Huracan's 610 horsepower 5.2-liter V10, but 2 electric motors slapped onto it to generate an additional 300 horsepower. And that's how you get the 910. Top speed is 320 kph, and 0 to 100 is achievable in 3 seconds. So it was a little slower than any car from the Holy Trinity, but had the same power output. And under the flash, you can see that Altaya did model the entire engine of this car, although it's buried pretty deep inside. You can see all the details. I mean, we've even got the Lamborghini branding on the engine blocks, so that's very nice. But apart from that, you can't really open any engine bay hatch or something like that, and it's pretty invisible under normal light conditions. And now taking a look at the interior of the Asterion, the glass has, of course, a lot of refraction because this is 143, so you can't properly see into the interior. But I think over here you can see that we have a nice center console with even some symbols painted onto it, like a sticker, I suppose. We got some air vents, and the seats are brown with white surround and side bolstering. And the door cards are also painted, so there's a minimum amount of detail here. And apart from that, though, the car is mainly there for the exterior. Now, Altaya models are known for the fact that they don't have glass on the driver's side, so this gives us a better view without any refractions. And you can see that the steering wheel looks kind of weird because it doesn't have any detailing, at least in terms of print. It's just like some buttons, or like holes where buttons are supposed to be. However, the instrumentation behind it looks nice. You can see that the gauges are readable, and it even has the paddle shifters. And here you get a better view of the center console there. It's like an LCD screen. Aircon vents, again, looks nice. Door. And the seats. So, overall, I think that this is definitely an interesting interior. Visible enough. And the car itself is also very interesting and worth having. So I hope you guys liked my review of the 143 scale Lamborghini Asterion LP 910-4 by Altaya. It's definitely an interesting car to have in any Lamborghini collection, especially considering the unavailability of any alternatives. And the price is decent, and you also get good quality for the price that you pay. If you are interested in more Lamborghini reviews, make sure to check out some of the other videos that I have uploaded. And as always, take care, have a wonderful day, and this is Imperial Diecast, signing out.